Thank you. Yeah, yes. We're ready at any time you want. All right. Roll. Yeah, you go ahead. You just give me the thumbs up.
Now, guests here that have not signed in, I would appreciate if there's a notebook up there at the table. That'd be great. Thank you so much. Andrew, I'm ready anytime.
All right, I am gonna go ahead and open the public hearing, 6:02. Roll call, please, Gail.
Josh is absent. Nathan,
Present.
Melissa, present. Mindy, here. Andrew,
Here. All right, do we have any public input on the public hearing?
I have not received any written or oral communications towards this hearing.
Hearing none, seeing none, I'm gonna go ahead and adjourn the public hearing. Now I gotta open another public hearing. And this one, the second one, sorry, is on proposed plan, specifics, form of contract and estimate costs for the proposed new primary school project. So again, I'm gonna open that public hearing, 6:03. Anybody here for public input on that?
I have all the information on the table, if anybody's interested. I have not received any oral or written comments about the new primary school project.
All right, hearing none, I'm gonna go ahead and close that public hearing. And I'm gonna go ahead and call to order our regularly scheduled board meeting. Roll call, please, Gail.
Absent. Nathan,
Here.
Melissa, here. Mindy, here. Andrew,
Here. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda approved. Public forum, do we have anyone here for public forum tonight?
I received no applications.
Anybody want to speak at public forum? Seems fun. No. All right, then go ahead and close public forum. Announcements and celebrations.
Okay, first up, I'm very excited to celebrate Lynn Reed, who is here with a group. We had our Gilbert Tigers already out of the building, so to see more Tigers back here makes me very, very happy. And they are here to share about their success with the Battle of the Book. So thank you, Lynn, and I'll let you take it over from here.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Lynn Reed. I'm your K-12 district media specialist, so I'm involved in all 4 buildings. And I wanted to start, we just created a mission statement because Battle of the Books is becoming We're trying to make it a permanent program, and so our mission is to share the enjoyment of reading and challenge ourselves by reading a wide variety of books while synergizing with our team, competing as a community of readers where all are welcome. Our journey with Battle of the Books started 4 years ago. We just had 2 fifth grade teams, and we finished this year with a total of 21 teams. We had 10 fifth grade teams, 6 sixth grade teams, 4 seventh grade teams, and a returning high school team. All of our grade levels train together so that they aren't thinking of themselves as individual teams. We're training them to think of themselves as Gilbert, so we're all part of the success. Our fifth graders meet during Tiger Time. Our sixth and seventh graders give out lunch and recess once a week to practice, and our high schoolers meet during Success Center. Over the span of the 4 years, we've had a total of 128 different students participate, many of them for multiple years. And our program continues to expand as starting this fall, we will have 4th grade Battle of the Books that will be run during Tiger Time and 8th grade Battle of the Books. All of these things wouldn't be possible without the support that we get from Amy Griffin, Mike Danielson, and Cindy Bassett and John Ronka. Carrie Clark has been very supportive of helping me get these started, and our PTO. Couple of our competitions we have, mainly our 4th grade, our 7th, 8th grade, and our high school, are statewide competitions where there's an entrance fee and the PTO pays for those. 5th and 6th grade are the only local competitions we have, and they're at Ames Public Library, so there's no fee there. But I've asked this evening if I could have a couple of my students just come up and share with you about their experiences so that they can kind of share their successes that they've had.
Okay, hello, I'm Annalisa Lacia. I participated in Battle of the Books. Why I chose to be in Battle of the Books was because my librarian, Ms. Martinez, in the 6th grade, really encouraged me since they knew how much I loved to read books, and I knew how much I loved to read books. So I wanted a new variety. So I tried it, and I liked it. And then why I enjoyed it, excuse me, like I said, I really enjoyed it because of the variety of books, and not only participating in it, but not only getting together with my whole room, but seeing all the different kids who are willing to try this out with us and be a team together. And then if I'm going to do it next year, yes, definitely. I think I'm hoping for experience like the one I had this year because it was very fun.
Thank you. Alex?
I'm Alex Blackburn. I've done Battle of the Books for 2 years, last year and this year. Favorite part of Battle of the Books is like getting to read different varieties of books and like hanging out with friends and stuff. I'm planning on doing it next year, and what I like most about it is like probably the trip to the statewide competition.
Lucas?
Hello, I am Lucas Gardner. I participated in Battle of the Books. One thing I enjoyed about it was getting to collaborate with many different varieties of people and the variety of books that I finished. When I joined, I have participated for 2 years, and I am planning on doing it for years to come.
Thank you.
My name is Chloe Larson, and I participated in Battle of the Books of 6th and 7th grade and planning to do it for 8th grade. Battle of the Books really opened my passion for books really. I started off as like a small person into books, and it's kind of got me to like it better. And it's a lot of fun collaborating of this stuff.
This year's season, we had a 5th grade, we had 2 5th grade teams that made it to the top 5. We had 1 6th grade team that made it to the top 5, and those are just local at Ames. On the state level competition, they take the top 16 teams across the state. We had 1 7th grade team that made it to that final competition. And for a 2nd year in a row, I've had the same high school team that's made it to the Sweet 16 and to the state finals. I'm just gonna finish up by letting one of the parents talked about the difference they've seen with having Battle of Books.
This question. I'm Shelby Larson. I kind of get both sides of this. I work at the school, so I get to see the excitement of the kids when Battle of the Books gets announced and when Lynn starts having them meet. I mean, they could care less about going out for any moment of recess because they want to spend their entire time in here for Battle of the Books. Chloe is my daughter. The other aspect as a parent was when Chloe was in 3rd grade, she didn't care about reading to save her life. I couldn't get her to even touch a book or read a book. And after Battle of the Books started, I can't even keep enough books at the house now because she just wants to read all the time. And Battle of the Books really has opened up a lot of windows for a lot of different kids in our district. And I'm so thankful for Lynn and pushing hard for a non-athletic event for our kids to be a part of and really showcase what they can do and what they are outside of the athletics. So I feel, don't get me wrong, I love the athletics in our district and I'm a 110% supporter in that, but items like this, I love it when we can just push that out front and let the community see the awesome kids that we have and what they can do with their reading. So please, Lynn, keep this going. The more kids we have, if we need to hire more people for Battle of the Books to help with that, that would be awesome. Because these kids really do a great job.
Thank you.
And I just want to thank Lynn and all of the time and energy that she puts in. As you can see, obviously she's passionate about it, but it's really the energy she puts into when it started with a few kids and it continues to grow. And that really comes from Lynn and all the time and energy and outside of her regular work day that she has. I'm really grateful to all the things that she does. But thank you for helping our kids.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing, great job. And it's cool, like as a kid. No.
So great.
I use it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, a couple other celebrations here. We had a wonderful, just before I get to the awards there, I want to thank Josh spoke at graduation. We had a wonderful graduation celebration. Wanted to thank the high school, Cindy Bassett, and all the work that they put into John Ronca to have a wonderful graduation ceremony. Even the superintendent got through her speech without completely breaking down, so that's good news there. But I wanted to thank Josh for speaking, and it was a great celebration. Also wanted to then talk about at the end of the year, we had our end of the year celebration, and Melissa was there representing all of you and did an outstanding job speaking to the staff. And so I want to thank her for, she actually forgot her notes, I'll tell her, and she pulled out a grocery list, which everybody appreciated, and she did a phenomenal job, so it was great. And in that event, we honored our retirees, which we talked about last month, but we have the Dan Wooden Family Awards and Excellence in Education Awards and the Educator of the Year Award. So I just wanted to share that and mention them. So our staff nominates people, and then those nominations go to the Wooden family. The Wooden family then goes through and selects who they think is representing the Dan Wooden Excellence in Education Award. So there's one at each building. So Ashley Soma was selected for the elementary building, Candy Ramsey at the intermediate, Jenny Thomas at the middle school, and Everett Charlson at the high school. And then this year, which won't be a big surprise, I don't think, to all of you, for the first time ever, they had someone that received the most amount of nominations that has ever been received, and that was Tace Clark. So they did a 5th award to Tace. So that was a really fun surprise to share. So everyone, and with that comes a very nice $500 check and donation from the family directly to those people. So it's a really nice honor. In addition to that, we have the Bob Jensen Educator of the Year Award. That is a wonderful award that is available. It's a way to honor Bob Jensen, for those of you that knew him, for the years he worked here and unfortunately passed away a few years ago. And it's a way to honor him. We had a community member donate funds to the foundation in his name, in his honor, and through that, we're able to give a $1,000 award to a person, and it's a group of educators that sit down and make that decision. And this year it went to Dee Dee Hasselhoff, our counselor at the elementary, and she's more than deserving, but so excited. And the part that really makes it special is that she actually had Bob Jensen as a teacher, and he is very, very near and dear to her heart. And she spoke to that at the event, and it was just really incredible. And it was a great moment. So we're very proud of all those awards we were able
Congrats, Carrie.
to give out. So yes, Carrie Clark is her mom. So
Yeah.
we were all crying at the end. The fun part of that award too is what we do is we list some characteristics of the person, but no one in the room knows. So we get more and more narrow. Like we might say this person's very caring. This person cares a lot about others. And everyone's like, oh, this person recently took up crocheting, and everyone's like, oh, who is that? And then we just keep, and then the last thing that we said is, this person often says, I appreciate you. And that's a phrase that Dee Dee often gets, and everyone's like, oh, it's Dee Dee, and then you announce it. So it's a really fun surprise for the staff, so. And then the last piece I want to share is that I'm gonna pass these down, we gave one to each staff member, that if you go and do any traveling this summer, take your tiger, think of Flat Stanley, but it's the traveling tiger. Take a picture, as I said, take a picture of yourself, your family in some fun place and email it. And we're gonna use those perhaps at the back to school event of some summer fun that our staff had with the tiger. We tried to make it light and easy so it'll fit in a purse or backpack or pocket so that tigers can travel and have fun this summer. So that concludes my celebrations that I've had at this time.
Any other announcements and celebrations from the board? Moving along, we have department updates. Again, all the department updates are in your board notes. Any questions or comments from the department updates?
I just thought, Troy Banning's update was really impressive. That was in there, so many things to celebrate, so much work that he puts into it. But, just the engagement that we've had through like our social media, we've had, what do you say, like 1 million clicks or something like
Yes.
that. It's been really impressive. And I keep thinking, could we go back to a world without Troy Banning? And I think that's a hard no, for communicating with our district. So I thought that was really impressive.
And I will also point out, thank you for bringing that up, Mindy, is that he buried it, I see in the middle.
We want some awards.
Received 13 awards from the Iowa School Public Relations Association at the annual banquet. And he did not necessarily want to submit those awards, and I may have encouraged that. And then I keep asking him, how are you gonna share that out? And we're still working on that piece too, but this is
We
his
did
way
bury that.
Yeah,
of putting it out there. Also, just since you brought up Troy Banning, he went along, as many of you saw, on the 8th grade Washington DC trip, which was phenomenal. And the word around town is good luck to the parents that have to go next year and take all those pictures on their own, because he did such a great job. But the kids had an awesome time, and Mr. Danielson and his team did a great job with our kids in DC. But they really captured some great photos through that as well. So.
Anything else from the department update report? All right, Mr. Holton, data compromise report.
On January 10th, 2024, Gilbert Community School District discovered suspicious activity in its environment. In response, Gilbert Community School District immediately took steps to secure its environment and launched an investigation in consultation with outside cybersecurity professionals to determine the nature and scope of this incident. Gilbert Community School Districts did not suffer an interruption to operations. This investigation determined that on January 10th, 2024, an unknown unauthorized actor gained access to Gilbert Community School District's network environment and potentially accessed certain information stored on that environment. As a part of the response to this event, Gilbert Community School District notified law enforcement of the event. Gilbert Community School District conducted a comprehensive review of the limited data that may have been subject to unauthorized access as a result of this event. Certain data related to current and former students may have been impacted. Gilbert Community Schools has not received any reports or evidence of misuse of anyone's data. Gilbert Community School District will be offering impacted individuals with credit and identity monitoring services for 1 year. If you are impacted, you will receive a letter in the mail within 1 to 2 weeks detailing the event and offering credit monitoring enrollment information for 1 year. Not all students or community members are affected. We will be providing additional information on our website within the next few days as well. Some frequently asked questions for you. So what happened? On January 10th, 2024, Gilbert Community School District discovered suspicious activity in its environment. In response, Gilbert Community School District immediately took steps to secure its environment and launched an investigation in consultation with outside cybersecurity professionals to determine the nature and scope of the incident. This investigation determined that on January 10th, 2024, an unknown, unauthorized actor gained access to Gilbert Community Schools environment and potentially accessed certain information stored on the environment. What is Gilbert Community School District doing in response to this incident? When Gilbert Community School District learned of this incident, it quickly and immediately took steps to secure its environment and launched an investigation and consultation with outside cybersecurity professionals to determine the nature and scope of the incident. One of these steps included changing cybersecurity vendors supporting the Gilbert Community School District network security. Gilbert Community School District is offering potentially affected individuals free credit monitoring service for 1 year. Instructions for enrolling in the complimentary services are contained in the letters mailed to individuals. Why did it take so long to notify individuals? Gilbert Community School District conducted a thorough forensic investigation and extensive review of the data at issue to determine the nature and scope of the information involved in this incident. Gilbert Community School District will begin notifying impacted individuals as quickly as practicable. Should I check my credit report? You should monitor your credit report regardless of whether your information may have been impacted by this event or you think you may be a victim of identity theft or fraud. Is Gilbert Community School District offering any services to assist with credit monitoring or identity protection? Yes. Gilbert Community School District is offering potentially impacted individuals complimentary credit monitoring for 1 year. An activation code and enrollment instructions for this service will be included in the notice letters that will be sent to impacted individuals. Not all students or community members are impacted. What information about me was taken or accessed? The information that may be affected by this incident varies for each individual. The information that could be affected will be listed in the notice letter individuals receive. Has any identity theft occurred as a result of this incident? Gilbert Community School District has not received any reports of actual or attempted identity theft or fraud as a result of this incident. I'd like to address the board. I'd like to publicly thank Nathan Kearns, one of our board members, for his tremendous asset to this process, as both for advice and a sounding board and to help me through this process. I'd also like to thank Dr. Christine Trujillo to help me through this process and to navigate this. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. I would just like to say also, just from my perspective, I've been really impressed with how this has been handled and the expediency in which it has occurred. This is something where these types of situations, timing is of paramount importance in this. Staff, they were very, very quick. They sensed the urgency right away. They handled it, and it really reduced the impact of it, of what it could be and what we read about in headlines elsewhere. So I just want to really express that I'm impressed with the response to this situation and how it's moved along as quickly as we can responsibly have that done. So well done.
Any other questions or comments for Jason?
I also just want to thank Jason for the leadership that he has shown through this process. We've all learned a lot of new things, and Jason has done an outstanding job of being a leader through this entire process and leaning on experts throughout the process to make sure that we're following all the things that needed to be done. So thank you for that, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. Mental wellness report. Christine, any updates there?
I think the last thing, I'm not sure if I shared this last month, but we had our last meeting with the collective that we've been working with community members. We all have summer projects that we are continuing on and we'll reconvene in the fall. That meeting in the fall will involve inviting legislators to the table so that we can have discussions about what are some needs that we have around mental wellness. Whether it's if it's financing, if it's bills that need to be proposed and what that looks like. And so we'll continue that work. Our work with Jennifer Julie, she kicked us off and got us going, and we'll continue that into next year. That will be our next step, is some summer work in our committees and then moving forward from there. So that is what we are tasked with this summer and bringing us back together in fall.
Questions for Christine? Moving along, board reports, policy committee update, Nathan and Mindy, any updates there?
We viewed only a handful of policies this time. We spent a lot of time. We're very thorough at it, so we'll have more meetings for the rest of the policies we didn't get to.
Yeah, I think the policies we reviewed were surrounded around technology. And kind of speaking to what Jason just spoke to us about, you know, looking at that policy a little closer, spending some time on that. And then, yeah, our next meeting, we start reviewing the 100 series. So, coming up next.
Yep, and with these policies, and as Wendy said, we pay a lot of attention to the language, because we really want to make sure if we're reviewing these, that it's thorough, and should be good guidance to staff and to students. So we're very deliberate about that process and feel good with the outcome of these policies.
Thank you very much. Next item we have is the 24-25 board meeting schedule. You will see that in your packets. No real major changes, any comments on that at all, Christie? In regards to
I
meetings in
believe
the
they're on the
past?
second Monday. The way spring break falls, we're able to stay on that second Monday, so we didn't have to move the March one, so. The next one's coming up on July 8th. Not too far away. There you go.
Only here.
So this will post on the website.
All right, now the excitement. Facilities master planning update.
Not really talking about planning, but.
Yeah.
Or this right here. I printed off the final bid tab, so you guys can
Perfect.
take a look at that.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I do know where to put the staple, but my printer does not. I don't know how to tell my printer where to accurately put it. All right, so yeah, last Thursday, we had this room full of bidders for the PK2 project, and Andrew, Nathan, and Melissa were all there to experience that. It was much longer than normal. We had about 73 envelopes to open, which we were very pleased with the turnout. And when we start to analyze each one of the bid packages, you know, there's a lot of numbers that are pretty close as far as who was bidding, and you know, the numbers being close enough that we're confident what we got on bid day were good numbers coming in. So we can right now, the next step, or I guess if we sum it all up, we are currently under budget by a pretty significant amount from what we were originally anticipating and originally budgeting for. Reason behind that is
we're thinking it's just starting to turn the bidding environment. Bidders are getting hungry. We've been hearing that. We didn't want to adjust our budget number along the way to say, well, we're hearing it's a good environment, so we're thinking that the project should be less, so. That's why we weren't advising to say, let's reduce the budget and plan for that, because we would rather be in this situation where we have planned for more and we have room on the back end, so. Some strategy there, so. The numbers on here and the low bidders, this is not the total project amount, so there's other. Pieces that have not yet been bid, and there's other components along the way that. Are part of just the project numbers that end up being the final project amount. So things like that would include demolishing the existing building. That's one thing we didn't want to bid out right now because it's so far out. We want to make sure that we get a good number then to do that, along with the abatement for that building. We have an earmark for the fiber line that needs to go from here over to the new building. And then we have furniture allowances, playground equipment, appliances, so. Just making sure that all those allowances are captured, and that's captured in our project number, so. Yes, we're under budget, so we're very happy for that. So our next steps in this project specifically, so. We've sent out the notices to our apparent low bidders. They're getting us information back at this time, so information that we asked for is the subcontractor list, so who else they have hired, and who else is potentially on their team to do the work. We've asked for the qualification information to make sure that we're vetting each one of these contractors very well, that they're able to do the work they say they're doing, that they have manpower to do the work, that they're credible contractors, can be bonded, all those things. So that's up to us. We're in that due diligence period right now and getting that information. And then also a schedule of values to make sure that their numbers add up, that what they have from those subcontractors actually maps out.
How long is that process?
Yeah, so. It's not going, we're not pushing very quickly for this, so we've got a little bit of time. And that time is because to start going and giving our notice to proceed on this project. We're still waiting for the approval of the site plan and the city council approval for the track. So the timeline we have for that is the 13th, Thursday is the next planning commission meeting. We're anticipating, we got initial comments back for that on Friday afternoon. Nothing significant came out of that. The design team will have responses and everything should be ready for planning commission to say, yep, this looks like a good project, we're good to go. Then that will go to city council on the 24th with the anticipation that it gets approved. And at that point, we would feel comfortable giving our notice to proceed to those low bidders once we had validated. So we do have time before that happens. Before we give the notice to proceed, and that's why it's just that kind of procedural thing we're waiting for. So, yep. So we're not in a huge rush, is what I'm saying, and that doesn't push back our real start date all that much. We have cushion in the schedule, so we're not, every day doesn't count right now. I'm sure I'll come back to you and say, okay, I wish I hadn't said that back in June, but we're, from a schedule standpoint, we're in good shape. So yeah, so I just talked through the timeline and then the anticipated notice to proceed, and then that would be following any just further contractor validation, evaluation, or any hearings that might be recommended to this board. So the next, any questions on bid day schedule for this?
I was really impressed with bid day and how your team handled that, so good work.
Thank you.
Actually 70, I tried counting about 70 people in this room.
We should have had it in the auditorium.
Yeah, and that, that's what you hired us to do, was to get people in the room on bid day, and so. I hope that's a testament to the numbers we got, and not just the bidding environment, but yeah, our team worked really hard behind the scenes, making a bazillion phone calls, answering a whole bunch of questions, but that's obviously what you hired us to do, so. Yeah, I think, and then the other things behind the scenes we're still working on within the facility committee is talking through the district office and the high school additions that are happening. Those are the other two projects in what we're calling phase one. And so those are still in development. We'll be hitting another milestone there moving forward, and with the anticipation of getting those out this fall. So.
John Patrick.
What else do you guys want?
Quick update on the middle school, if you could, since you're here. Can you give us on progress on how that's coming? Or you may not know.
I'm not the middle school guy. I walked over there, they're setting steel,
I know they're
so
ahead of schedule.
we're moving, yeah, they're,
Way ahead of schedule.
yeah, they're moving, as far as I know, that's, the ops team, everything is going well. I don't anticipate any delays, still not gonna tell you it's gonna finish early, so anticipate the substantial completion date that we have set. But yeah,
I do know that the entrance now is the athletic entrance, so if you're going over there, that looks a little different if people are trying to get in there. So that's just to be aware of, and I will also say that the group was moving very quickly. As they started, things that they wanted to do after the kids left, they were already ready to do before our kids left. So they were moving along, and good things are happening there, so.
yep, and we just want to make sure your team's communicating with our team here on the ground, and if just as much open communication as possible. So if you see something, make sure you're saying it to anybody on our team. So yeah, that's what we're here for. So cool.
Just again, to repeat, you were very happy with the bids overall.
Yeah, they're good.
We're happy. I just want to make sure you were happy.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I did thank Patrick and the De Novo team, as well as the CMBA team. That clearly the bidders saw their vision and what needed to be done, and were able to come to the table. Ready to say they wanted to do the work at a price that was good for all of us, so. I'm really, really appreciative to Patrick, his team, as well as CMBA and the team there.
Lots of stuff moving forward, but every day is moving forward. Is a good step in the right direction.
John Patrick.
Yeah, thank you.
I see Steven on here. Is he?
He's not here. I think Patrick was in his place.
Okay, all right, so we on,
Consider approval.
yeah, okay. It's coaching T-ball. We had extra innings, so.
Did you win?
We're not keeping score yet.
Did you win?
I think every kid touched home plate.
Good.
That's a win.
All right, now that we know what we're looking at, consider approved proposed plans and specifications associated with the new primary school project. Any discussion on that?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Up next, the stormwater detention. So consider approved resolution for conveyance of real property. The stormwater detention easement to the city of Gilbert, and that was related to the legal document back and forth with the. With what will be the new stormwater plan. Do we need to discuss anything with that, or do we?
That was one of our hearings tonight.
Yeah, public hearing. Okay. We have a motion,
I'll motion.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to old business, second reading with possible action to waive the third reading and approve revised board policies that are listed below. Anything need to be discussed? Do we have a motion to waive the third reading and approve the revised board policies?
I'll move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next. The second reading with possible action to waive the third reading and approve rescinded board policies. Within a minute, we talk about that at all? Okay.
Pretty straightforward stuff.
Have a motion?
This is our second look at these. so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, moving on to new business. So we got the student cell phone discussion. So just so we're not necessarily going to take an action on anything tonight, but it's good. Obviously, this has become a pretty public topic. We've had a lot of parent engagement. So it'd be good to kind of, this is the first meeting that we've had after the public forum. And was there a public, anybody speak to the public? No, at the beginning of the meeting, okay. So we've all gotten a lot of emails in a variety of directions, so. Kind of, I think as a board, what we need to do is just get it out for discussion and see what direction. Not necessarily we need to go with a policy, but how do we investigate this to make sure that as a government entity, we're doing the right thing from a school board perspective. I'll go first, just to kind of kick things off, and then everyone else can kind of give their points there. It's you know, personally, I agree with a lot of the idea behind limiting cell phone and social media use. What I'm trying to do myself as a board member is to determine where does the problem leave the home and become a school problem? And what is our role as a board in making sure that we provide an appropriate educational environment? Making sure that we're keeping students from harm that they would not be exposed to otherwise, as a function of what we do as a government agency. And then also above and beyond our curriculum, right, which is, you know, reading, writing, and arithmetic, we commonly think of as what is the school board's job. But we have Leader in Me curriculum, right, that isn't part of reading, writing, and arithmetic. And it'd be easy to say, well, Leader in Me and raising good leaders is not a part of the school district. But we do that anyway as a part of the curriculum. So we've obviously recognized that that's an important part of society. And it's so important that we've decided to make it a part of the curriculum and to honor that. So that's, again, part of what we need to decide eventually as a board. There's also the other, you know, that's largely on the mental wellness and, you know, student resiliency front. We also have the aspect of distractions in the classroom and making sure that we have that, you know, we're honoring and maintaining an effective learning environment for the students. So we need to determine, is this an issue in the schools? Is it an issue from building to building or grade to grade? And then, you know, where do we move forward from there? I think we're many conversations in the future, or kind of when we're gonna figure this out. So I think it'd be good to get a lot of those different voices in the same room. If I could give you a hint on what I might recommend later, but that's kind of my perspective. Again, at the end of the day, if I had to make a decision tonight, I could be convinced either way on polar opposites by many arguments tonight. So I think what's more important is to make sure we understand what is the scope of our responsibility here. So that we can do the right thing and not necessarily abandon our other job of maintaining, you know, good leaders and taking care of the social environment that the community is asking us to within our realm of responsibility, without also creating a vessel through which a government authority can parent children, because you can go on both sides of the extreme on that. And I want to make sure that we don't have to address an issue 2 or 3 years from now. On the other side of the table and have to say, hey, we're gonna handle this the same way fairly. So I think there's gonna be some middle ground there, but I'm gonna open it up to everyone and we'll just go around and give your thoughts. And we've had a lot of really good involvement from the community, a lot of good people speaking out. I've had a lot of conversations. Both sides have been people that are very passionate about the mental wellness and the ongoing flourishing of the Gilbert School District.
Just get a quick level set, Christina, where we're at today. Just can you walk us through, like, from a school standpoint, what do we have in place? Where are we at? Maybe I think we'll kind of go from there.
So I just real briefly gave you each, this is the handbook that you all approve every single year, just so you know kind of where we are. I didn't print all 40-some pages. I printed out page 13 under personal technology. And I went through and highlighted that little piece for you. Just so you have that information on what's currently in our handbook. And this we typically bring to you to approve in August, is what that looks like as for the school year. And I will read it, not to insult anyone, but just so people know what I'm referring to. In our personal technology section, it says personal technology, cell phones, gaming devices, computers, tablets, smartwatches, music devices, etc. should not be used in the building during the school day unless approved by a teacher, classroom teacher, or administration. Use of personal devices at inappropriate times may result in confiscation of the device and returning the item to the student at the end of the school day. Continued issues may result in a parent-guardian meeting and returning the device to the parent during the meeting. So that's where we are today. That's what we have. I did share, I will share with you. We had a already planned meeting with our principals today with a variety of topics. And we, for the first time, also sat down and talked about what are we seeing in the school. And I've talked to them individually, but not all together as a group. So we had different information that they shared. I would say to you, to Josh's point, and to answer what you're asking, Andrew, is that I'm getting those same bit of information from all of our many of our parents on both sides. And then that same conversation, and how do we bring our staff into the conversation? How do we bring our principals into the conversation to say, what are they seeing in the school? What does it look like in the classroom? We've had a few emails from people that are parents and staff, but I think it's really important that, Andrew, you didn't really ask me this, but I look forward to us also having that conversation with our staff and our principals to say, what does it look like in the schools? So.
Well, and to that end, I think that's where I would really like to hear more, right? So we've heard a lot from community members and from parents, which is fantastic. Really applaud the activism.
Anybody want that?
But I would like to hear from the staff as well, because I think their perspective is really important to this situation. And as I've talked to different parents and community members, a lot of parents have expressed concerns they have in the classroom or with enforcement, or is it a distraction, or some of the questions I have that I even like to see are, based on if we send a survey to the staff. I think it'd be great to break that down by building, figure out their views on cell phones in the classroom, some use them as tools. Is it a problem? Is it a distraction? And then also, I've had parents express concerns about, do teachers have any friction points from taking away a phone? Is it a personal device? All those types of questions. I think that would be great to get them to the table and have them speaking, and maybe eventually get that to some type of workshop or work forum where we have different community members and staff together as we talk through to better understand the scale and scope of the situation.
So in thinking of that, that might be something you all want to talk about and consider, is that, what does that forum look like so that we have staff always at the table? We could do, in July or August, depending on how you want to do it, a work session, which we would invite principals to the table. They could share information that they have, what they're seeing, what information they have. If you're interested in doing an overall district-wide, another way to get voice is survey to say, what does it look like in your building, in your classroom? I think it would be great to have questions from, we could put together a survey, but also questions from you that maybe you're wondering and thinking about. And just saying what, what's, to your point, Andrew, what's our current reality related to what we're seeing in the buildings? And then what are our parent voices, and then how do we bring that all together? And that's not necessarily one meeting that all that could happen, but at least a work session would allow us to, that format would allow you to ask staff questions. We could provide data from a survey if you wanted to do that. I do think, of course, as always, the parent voice is very important at this. But to Josh's point too, is what does this look like educationally, and what does it look like for our schools? In each building, age level, all those different.
For the mental wellness discussion happening separately, what does technology look like in that room, in those conversations? Is it, is that part of the topic? Is that topic brought up there? What does that look like?
There is a group, within our group, we had subgroups, right? And there is a subgroup, and I am not going to remember the exact title, but I feel like it's community, I think was the topic. Of different things that we could do as a community to help with mental wellness. And the topic of technology did come up. I will tell you on all sides, again, all sides of it, right? So there was, and I think I've shared this, maybe I haven't shared it publicly, but there were, members on that team that said, gosh, we really need to look at this, and should we do something differently? And then there were members that said, this really helps us in this certain way. We had students, of course, who voiced their opinion of how it helps their mental wellness, which to be honest with you, was a perspective I hadn't heard or thought of before. So when you hear a student and theirs was about
Expressing themselves.
how it helps them, one student shared how it helped them. So there were different viewpoints, is what I'm saying. And so that group, I think, there'll be a point where we'll have to loop in that group with our discussion here as we move forward, because they're doing work. We don't want to do work here and then contrary to that, and how do we bring that all together? So there will be a point we'll have to do that, but the first, I think, is we really need to, my advice or thoughts would be, let's have this conversation with staff, in what way we can do that, and what you guys think would be the best way to do that.
I think that'll handle really well the topic of how a phone's affecting the educational environment. The other side of that is more difficult for us to handle as a school board is the mental health aspect of addiction to smartphone, social media. And that's why I'm curious too, is this a thing that exists in our world that we can have an impact on, or should we? Or is this, what level is that? Because again, just from an organizational leadership perspective, sometimes policy change is necessary. It's also, you want that to be the last case scenario if you can. Our moving forward group in the high school has probably been one of the most effective mental health groups that we have. And it was done largely by students in spite of what their parents and the staff were doing, because they knew how to take care of their needs better than people that aren't in their phase of life. So, the gold standard is from within, and we manage with policy if that's ineffective. So remember too, how can we avoid the atomic option of policy change when we say our goal is to raise up leaders within the school? Is that an option? And obviously with the staff too, we're gonna have a lot more buy-in if we've gone through them, because there's issues that we don't know about, and there's things, we don't know yet. So.
Christine, I know this is a hot topic, not just here, but state countrywide. I mean, you talk to a lot of superintendents. What's the feedback then? What else are you hearing throughout the state? Sure. Both regionally, statewide, countrywide.
Well, I will tell you, recently there was a letter that came out from Danny Trimble at Ballard. And that was brought to my attention, and I have a great relationship with her. So I picked up the phone and said, tell me, kind of what you have going on there. In that case, according to their superintendent, it came from staff saying it was a staff issue. That the staff brought it to them to say like, hey, we're having kids not being compliant or not being respectful, and what can we do about it? So she then sent out a letter about getting the community to come together for a conversation. This is what I heard from her, and I read her letter, and so that's kind of where they are. I attend a superintendent conference meeting monthly. I did ask that group a few weeks ago if other districts were talking about it, looking at it. Some of them, yes, some of them said no, not yet, and they hadn't heard anything, so a little bit of both. I will tell you, I know we have districts across Iowa, you know, or right here in Des Moines too, that have said like, okay, we're gonna do this. There's others that said, we're not, we're gonna look at our policy and say, what do we have? I mean, I will tell you, one of the things I've heard, and again, this is just one of the things I've heard, is that our kids, it's a compliment to all our parents, are very, very respectful, and they tend to follow the rules, which is a really great, wonderful problem to have. That's not even a problem, but and that helps, you know. Now, is that enough to have a policy, not have a policy? That's for us to continue that conversation. And so that is what I'm hearing from other superintendents. I've been doing my own reading, my own research, reaching out to other superintendents, and there are, you know, different practices going on, and taking a look at what's best for their community. There's not any one way that everybody's doing.
And I know you mentioned policy a few times. Correct me if I'm wrong, the IESB, there's no recommended policy regarding this that's now being in the works. Everything right now is just through the student handbook. So there's no more policies per se out there. Everything is pretty much just from a state level standpoint, it's all through the student handbook.
Correct. IASB, we did reach out to them recently, asked them if they would be looking at a policy and what are they hearing from other districts. They said, yes, we're hearing more and more of this, so they are putting some time behind looking at a policy, which I don't know what they'll come out with, I don't know what that'll look like, but they said it would be well into probably September, October before they give a recommendation. And I don't know what that recommendation, she didn't allude to whether there would be a policy or that maybe they recommend there's not a policy. I mean, there's policy, just to remind everyone, there's policy and then there's practice, right? So even when you look at our handbook, the question I would ask as the superintendent to our principals to say, this is what we have in our handbook, what are we practicing? Are we practicing this? Do we need to tighten up our practice? Do we need to change it and make it different? I mean, that's really the question that I would want to hear from staff on.
I mean, we, as a board, we approve the handbook,
Correct.
and discipline falls within the handbook. So. Not saying we don't need a policy, but. There is an option depending on what we want to do, and I think that's why we have to make it a big discussion on,
I think
is
it's,
this appropriate?
I think it's important for us, whatever decision is made, I think it's really important that we make it thoughtfully. And we do it in a way that the end outcome is successful. And rushing through a decision as important and as big and as opinionated as this would be the wrong thing to do. I know we've heard from a lot of parents that would really like to see something in place by the start of the school year. I personally think that we need to hear more from the school district side, the teachers, and maybe even some student voice on this. And summer is the wrong time to hear from that group. So I think it's important that we take the time to hear from those groups, thoughtfully make our decisions. And then just know that as a school board, if we do make policy changes, it's a process that we have to go through. As some of you have heard here tonight, we've done first reading of some policies, we've done second reading, possibly third reading of policies, and those take months over months process. So to have a large,
Just, so. Talk to just for everyone that
yeah,
is listening to a board,
yeah, so
What's the process?
like a policy process here on the school board is, at first, the policy has to be written. Then it goes to the policy committee for approval. Then it comes here to the school board for first reading. The next month, there's a second reading, and we can potentially waive third reading, but on bigger topics, it definitely would go to third reading. So right there is at least 4 months And we haven't even done the homework on the front end yet to hear from the different groups. So I think, to kind of like set expectations for folks, I think, to think that truly something's going to change or be different or in place by the start of the school year, is not going to happen, just from the process standpoint that we have to follow as a group.
There's a legal side to this too. Most of the policy, that's what I mentioned IASB before, is they go to their legal team, which then gets referred to us because there's a legal side to all these policies. For us just to go write a policy and put it in place, I mean, you gotta have legal approval, right? Because.
Right, so I think,
obvious reasons.
again, to be successful in implementation of any decision or change on this, we have to make sure we're doing it thoughtfully and we're giving it the time that it deserves. And we're following the appropriate steps that we have to follow.
Yeah.
There's also,
I say, yeah, I absolutely agree. So we're the ones on the policy committee and
Yeah.
that's something that, once again, it takes time to do thoughtfully and do well. And to Andrew's point, IASB, when we get guidance on policy, it's vetted through their legal counsel. So if we're to do our own policy outside of that, there's additional review and awareness we need to have around implications that could have. If some of the communities for or against it, what could that lead and what positions that put this district in as well. But I think it is good to temper expectations. We want to keep this moving, right? We want to get as informed as we can be. We want to be thoughtful. But we don't want to rush it and we want to do this the right way, not just for our community, the students, but also for the district.
Well, there's an opportunity to change our practice, even without changing policy, but I look at our practice here and like, this, to me, this is not what's happening in our schools. So I think regardless, we probably need to be, if it's gonna be in here, we probably need to follow it, right? Or we need to take it out, but from my understanding, kids aren't asking for permission every day from a teacher to pull out their phone, right? Which is, so maybe that's okay, but that's not what the handbook says. So I think we need to for sure come up with some clarity, even in what we have today.
over the years, we've devolved into implied consent versus direct.
Well, and I
question.
think, to your point, I think that's exactly why we need to talk to teachers about and now there's two pieces, anytime. As a principal starts a school year, they review things, they remind things, let's remember this, let's keep this, whatever, all the different things that are there. And so, it doesn't say in there daily, ask for permission daily, but you will hear when we talk to staff about things that they have in their room related to, some have it parked on the wall, some say, if you're done with your work and you're at this level, you can be on it. I mean, we have that, and I think you'll hear that from staff. So, but that doesn't mean to say, could we tighten up our practice in some ways? Perhaps. And that's why it's so important that we have those conversations with staff to say,
Right.
what's the reality of what's happening? And so how can we,
Yeah,
address
yeah.
that, as you're saying?
Well, it doesn't say every day, but it says should be used in the building during the school day, so even like between classes, right? I think right now
Right.
that's pretty free game, but that's not what this stating. So I think clarity regardless of what we're
Yeah.
doing, that's gonna be.
I think our district is unique. It's not more unique than it is different, but again, we don't have the fights, teachers aren't getting punched out because they're taking kids' phones away. That's happening, in close proximity to where we are. So we don't have those problems, but, just when I see some of the policies that are coming out statewide, a lot of them are saying, well, just not in the classroom. But in passing periods or lunch, then they can have it. Well, it doesn't interrupt the learning environment now, but again, personally, I look at that as, well, they don't need it during lunch, because again, going back to the leader in the example. They don't interview very well when they never learn how to have face-to-face conversations. So, and again, that's just to reemphasize how complicated this conversation is. Are we just addressing the learning environment side? Or are we addressing the mental health side? Are they walking in the doors without mental resiliency, or are they not mentally resilient because of the actions of the Gilbert School District? I don't think we're causing them to have these mental health. I think they're coming in, largely speaking, there are issues that happen in the school that happen in all school districts. I think largely they're walking in the door with a lot of these addiction issues to social media and to their phones. But again, I'm gonna continually reemphasize that this is a very multifaceted discussion here. And it's all intertwined.
It's a super important topic and I commend the group. Jake, I know you spoke last week and I was at the town hall meeting last week as well. They did a great job. I thought they presented the facts great. It was a good turnout. And so that, the main piece of all this is the educational piece. The group's getting out there, they're educating the community. So that piece is big. I want to keep that piece going. The community needs to be aware, and I think that's great. Again, I commend the group for doing it.
You're building advocates.
Yep, the second pice from educational standpoint, I think, is the staff. I mean, we gotta, okay, what are we doing to educate the kids, the harms, or what can we do to help that? I mean, there's that whole piece. And then the last piece is the kids. How do we educate the kids on the harms of cell phones? Now, again, it goes, I agree, parents and stuff need to do it on some level, but when they're in our school, it's like anything else. We can teach them, we can teach them this stuff. How that looks, I have no idea. I'm not an educator. But is there some sort of course they could take? Is there something they can do, whether it be intermediate or middle or high school, or even there's different phases of that? Will we just teach these kids the harm, what the bad of cell phones are? I mean, everybody knows the good of them, but what the bad is of them.
But also, how to interact appropriately, because phones aren't going away. So how do we teach our kids how to interact in appropriate ways with technology and our phones? And to find it to be a useful tool, but also where do you find your limits? And so is that our job as a district to help educate students through that? Yes or no? I mean, that's part of the process they need to figure out.
There have been several classes, or we've heard from staff members that are using essentially part of their curriculum, or because of the activities they're doing. The ag tech classes, for example, where they're out in the fields, they're utilizing the students' devices for instructional deployment. I think that's a question that we need to answer as a board. If it's so important to the educational environment that you need to use an internet connected device in a remote area, shouldn't we be providing that? You shouldn't have to ask a student to use their personal device. They use the Chromebooks, which, at that level, they're not going out into a field with the Chromebooks that aren't connected. So that's the thing. If it's that important, we should probably be providing it. I remember you used to have to go out and get the fancy calculator. I was never smart enough to take those math classes, but this is a common thing in most classes now. This isn't a fringe technological item anymore. So I'm not suggesting to go out and buy everyone a smartphone, but
Well, and I think an important point is that as we heard from our Battle of the Books kids here, it's about collaboration, right? Because what I don't want to see us get into is do it, don't do it, this group feels good, this group doesn't feel good. I mean, nobody wins on that kind of a thing if we think of it that way. What I really look forward to is kind of back to that collaboration of that, to your point, Andrew, of like, how can we all work together to come up with, a solution? And it's not easy, and I don't know what it is at this point, but to say what is going to help us educationally and help our kids, but also how can we work together with parents to say, what are we doing, after they leave the school building, and can we help with that in some ways? And our kids doing homework with their, I don't, those are the conversations to say, how can we, work together to say, what are we hearing from our staff? What are parents seeing at home? What are some things we can do together, whether it's teaching appropriate use or, on all sides of that. The example, I read an article today about, if kids get behind a car, guess what? They take driver's ed and they learn all the rules of the road and all those kinds of things, hopefully. And so this might be that same kind of idea of like, how are we helping our kids be safe? Whether they're in our building or whether they're at home or whether they're out with friends, and what does that look like? And like, so I look forward to us continuing the conversation, bringing people together. I don't believe there's any one right, easy answer. I think it's multifaceted, as you said, Andrew, and I look forward to us having ongoing discussion about it. To be mindful of a decision of what it looks like moving forward.
I guess just kind of jumping ahead here, so takeaways. So do we think as a board, we need to have a work session? I mean, let's call it step 2 in this process as a board. Where we think we should go from a work session standpoint, we should be in that work session, do we just leave it as a topic on the board agendas, I guess, what's everybody's thoughts?
Personally, I'd like to see a survey, because that gives us a lot of data, we can break it down by building. And then that can help inform a work session. That's me, my recommendations to the survey to the staff now, and then have that flow into a work session.
Will we give?
What others think?
If we do a survey if we send out a survey to the staff now, though. What kind of a response do we get when they're on summer break? I guess it's a question for you.
Well,
How engaged do they stay with their email or not? Over summer?
I think if you ask me if we're gonna get results in a day or two, perhaps not, but I think there might be some trickling in to just check and out. I don't know for sure because we haven't really done it over the summer survey. I don't know if we have in the past. Carrie, I'm looking at Carrie Clark, because
No, I think there might be some reminders we would have to set up. I mean, people are periodically checking their email, like you might notice if you send a teacher an email, you're gonna get an automatic vacation response. That they're checking it, but it's just not regularly.
Yeah.
So I think we would get responses, it just might take more time.
so we could start with that. I do, you guys are discussing that, but I really would like to see us have a work session, in my opinion, so that we could bring our administrators to the table, at least initially, so you could hear from them, and then I don't know whoever else you want at that table. Just so if we're kind of wondering like what that work session would be, it would typically we might present information, we might have questions we want each principal to answer. I could work with you to set that up so that we kind of present that information, kind of what's your current reality and what are they hearing? Something.
Well, the administration, they're working through the summer, so it's not like we have to wait necessarily as long as we would with that, so.
Correct.
It would seem reasonable to do a work session sooner than the end of the summer. With admin and any, I'd say admin and any, staff that would be willing to come in and do that, and then. I'd like to see a big discussion, as soon as everyone comes back. The mental health task force that has been going on, I really like the format of that. It's been a really effective way to get a lot of voices at the table. I'd like to see something very similar to that, but just hyper focused on the technology, mental wellness aspect. And I'd say set that up for some time in September once everyone's back. And that would be a pretty well orchestrated event where we've got representatives from both sides, pro cell phones, anti cell phones, it'd be very similar to the town hall discussion that we already had, just I think it'd be meaningful for the school district to say this is important to us, so we're gonna host one. And then make some specific invitations and I think they can be choreographed in a way that the best available motive, right, of everyone in the room can come out so that everyone has a pretty good understanding. And we can do that as a workshop with a forum, not that we're gonna take action on it, just that everyone could be here. And really it's an opportunity for everyone in the community, after we know what we don't know and we've been educated, to come to the school board in that setting and essentially put your best foot forward. So that then we truly able to make a decision on, is this a problem, you got educational environment, you got mental health, like, is this a problem on either one? We already kind of know the answer to some of that, but what is our job as a school board? What is the best way to do that? And then how are we gonna make whatever the solution that we come to stick in a way that students, staff, parents are gonna be supportive, right? Because we're all the same team here.
The other thing too, we might consider, and maybe after we have the work session, we could have some additional dialogue, but Jennifer Yulee has been a facilitator around the Mental Wellness Collective. And she might be a great sort of outside facilitator to help us through that process, to bring us all together when and if we feel like that's our next steps after we have the work session. We've been in those meetings. She's a wonderful facilitator and she has the mental wellness background that might help guide some of that conversation. Just something to think about.
For that initial workshop, what's everyone's thoughts on bringing some of the leaders from the moving forward group in the high school to that workshop? Would that be yay or nay? I'm just throwing it out there.
The summer.
Just, I say
With
the.
the admin.
It's gonna
Work
work
session with that.
work session with the admin.
Sure.
What if we brought
Some of the most insightful comments
Yeah.
we've gotten out of the mental health task force that come from students, and I thought they were staff.
part
But
of this-
before I realized they were students, I thought they were staff.
Yeah, we keep telling these kids what to do. It'd be nice to hear them from their perspective on how to do it too sometimes.
They should absolutely have a platform. Yeah.
Yeah, I think earlier the better. It's kind of, I mean, again, I'm open for suggestions, but I think if we can bring some of the, I mean, this is a mental health topic. Before, it's a group of, again, student led, student organized, but it's around mental health. And how do we tie those in pretty early?
Well, that either from there, or we have students on the mental wellness group. And, they might be invited. So, well, I'll talk to the principal that they recommend.
I think it'd be good to have. Well.
Well,
That's just the high school we're talking. You got multiple schools here.
Right.
Just, I mean, just from some input on students, that could be good to hear.
And I think, one of the comments as we were discussing it a little bit today, it was just, like I said, it was one topic on a whole page of topics we covered today. But, we talk about cell phones, but there's other components, what about the smartwatches and what about the gizmo watches that are not smart, and so it has. its
bus
own,
versus
know,
the classroom.
And I will say this respectfully to everyone, one comment I heard from a staff member, not today, this was a few weeks ago, is that's why I said we all have to come together, because is that sometimes the kids are texting their parents, because parents said, hey, how did you turn in your math homework, or how'd that test go, or, so it's like, that's why I'm talking about, we all have to work together on whatever is decided, so that we all can do better, even how many times have I picked up this thing that's sitting there, so I think that part's really important about how can we all come together and really make it best for our kids on all sides of that. I just feel really strongly about that piece. So, would you be comfortable with if I can send an email, or maybe Gail and I'll send an email asking you if you had any questions that you would like to see on a survey. I can get those from you, and then we'll generate a survey, to put that out and make it general and specific all at the same time, we try to make it, so that people can give their input of how they're using it. Do they have a policy? What does that look like? Or practice? What does practice look like? To your points. And then, we can come up with a work session, and invite administration and students, a couple students, not a lot, but just a few here and there to make sure we have all the voices.
And
As far as the education side.
I personally don't think that survey needs to go out ASAP. I think we need to wait. I mean, I don't, we can think of the question.
It needs to be a good
It needs
survey.
to be a good survey. I mean, we need our teachers to be not vacation, which I want them to be, so I don't know. I agree with Mindy. I think we need to wait on that. At least till everybody's got back.
Thoughtful input.
Yes.
Maybe at the workshop, we
Exactly.
identify some questions that we want to ask in the survey.
And maybe you'll have different questions after you hear from the admin teachers.
Right,
So that's good. So we wait on it. Do we all are all good?
I'd like to see the survey as soon as possible. If it's gonna be the fall, I'd like to be as soon as possible, because I'd like the large group discussion to be as soon as possible. Once school's in session. So.
So maybe just initially capture our initial thoughts of like what questions we're thinking of. Then we have that admin meeting. And maybe at that, we also we review, okay, what were like the top 4 questions that did we all ask this, all put the same question down? And then from there, we can develop what that survey might look like that goes out to staff.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we do both, so okay from administrators, but also staff.
For a workshop. Soon,
July,
at some point, yeah.
July 8th is our next meeting. Maybe July 8th. Is that right, Gail?
July 8th, the regular board meeting.
Which is not that far away.
Can we get everybody in that day? you
I
think?
will do my best to see what I can.
Just because I'm the short attention span guy in the room, I prefer not to have it during or before a board meeting, because then it just makes it longer. That's just my opinion. I'd rather have it just so we can focus on that on a separate day, but I will do it anytime, but once you get into those 2 hour, 3 hour meetings, you've lost me, so. I just, being blunt,
Being a workshop with a quorum, it would be recorded, right? Is that,
yeah.
are those end up on the YouTube page too?
We can make it that way, yeah, the
I
work
think it'd be
session.
helpful.
I would
It's
just-
open, and so it would be
Yeah.
recorded and be streamed.
If we do it in the middle of the day when everyone's at work, I'd like to have that option.
We just do regular meetings.
But can we?
I think it'd be appreciated,
I think,
especially if we're gonna make it during the day.
I guess I'll do it. I just would appreciate, I just think it's gonna be there's gonna be a lot there, and, you don't want to rush it into 45 minutes to an hour. It's probably gonna take some time, and so I think it'd be a better discussion knowing you don't have a meeting after or before.
would mid-July,
Just not July 4th.
well, that's the date I was going, because I like fireworks a lot, so.
There's lots of people on vacation in July, our
Yeah.
administrator.
Yeah, anytime early August would be great, because I also. So,
We'll figure that out.
We can
We'll figure
find
out
a day,
dates.
find a
We'll
day.
figure out date. Like I said, I'll do it during meeting. I'm just saying it makes it long.
well, it would be nice if we did it in August, because people are back and it gives people time, people want to prepare. And so, I don't know. We'll circle back on everybody thinks.
And then some kind of a large group focused discussion in September with everybody. And I think we're all there, and that's gonna be the rubber hitting the road.
I feel, I think that that's a good plan. I think maybe after we have the work session, we can kind of determine what that looks like there, in my opinion. So that we have all the voices. And I'll talk to Jennifer to see when that meeting is. The collective.
Any discussion on that? All right. Moving on to more boring things. Consider approve engagement letter with Piper Sandler for sales tax issuance.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the next three items, basically, we haven't entered any agreement for the financial piece of our projects. So basically, these next three items are basically engagement letter to bring Piper Sandler on with us for their piece of the facility projects.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second them.
All in favor?
Where was that?
Nathan.
That'll seem straightforward.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next, consider approved financial service agreement with Piper Sandler for the GO bonds.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Remain.
All right, motion passes. Next, consider approved dissemination agent agreement with Piper Sandler. Have a motion?
Motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next, consider approve the purchase of kitchen ovens for the elementary school kitchen and intermediate school kitchen. That's a Unox oven from Wilson Restaurant Supply for $146,402.60.
So I had a question on this. Is this partially paid for out of those other funds? Can we talk about
Yeah,
paying for those? Can you
it's,
tell
go
the
ahead,
public?
Gail, you can, I'll let you take it, Gail, but I know the answer.
So, this is, we have quite a large balance in our nutrition fund. And so we need to spend that down. So, part of that is going to be, they need these right away for the fall. And to put these in place, but they are also movable. So they're gonna be purchased with nutrition funds. So this will be coming out of the nutrition.
And that's this fiscal year still.
Yep, they're gonna have them installed before they start the school year. After July 1, before the start of the school year, but they also will be moving to the buildings.
And this is a new, I'd say this is a new oven for the elementary building, which would move to the new building, but also for this building here, which would stay here, as this building's not changing.
And what was the, we need this right now, it's just. They're not working, and we got
Fiscal year.
How old was the one in there? Do you remember, Gail? There was a full conversation about
Well,
it.
here at the end, it's on balance. So,
Oh,
Not functional?
that's not functioning.
Okay.
Went out at last week of school.
No.
Way to make it to the end.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like a valid reason.
The other one is to replace this board alongside another that is not at capacity currently, but we know what our future capacity is in the building, so we move on the building. It's also a ventless oven, so it does not require a good system of ventilation and things that often thousands of dollars. So it's also fully low, was ran myself now, monitored myself. I did check guards out like ground shaking, I think, you can start out as a check out. But the oven here is gone.
And this is
Well-
for because it is over the threshold for the superintendent just to take bids.
Yeah.
So that's why.
I think it's a good way to spend out on capacity limitations and do it this fiscal year. I'll motion to approve.
Second,
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, next, first reading of revised board policies. 713, responsible technology use and social networking. 713 R2, responsible technology use and social networking regulation, and 80301, disposition of obsolete equipment. Discussion on that. I did look through that. I was curious. We struck gov deals just because we didn't want to limit ourselves on.
correct, on that
Exactly.
disposition of obsolete equipment. Yeah, so in the old policy, it said that we will use govdeals.com for anything that we sell, and we just struck that so we could still use that,
Yeah,
but we can also use other avenues as well.
I don't like being pigeonholed into one
Right.
private company.
Right.
That is a for-profit entity. So,
That we can. go
Well,
with.
and that situation has arisen where there was a desire to do something else and they're restricted here. So this frees up to do what the district needs to do, including use gov deals. So
We still have responsibility to close sales.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to, since we have public funds, we have to allow the public to purchase everything that we, and so Gov Deals is a way for us to meet that legal requirement to make it available to everybody. Everybody has the opportunity to bid on it, and so that meets our legal requirement. So, but it also restricts us, so I would imagine that we'll continue to use Gov Deals when it's appropriate. But it also gives us some opportunities to not use them.
But if we don't use gov deals, we still have to post publicly when we have something for sale.
We can get through our website or anywhere else.
And are there regulations on that? So the reason, part of the reason I'm there is because I buy a lot of stuff on gov deals for far less than I should pay for it. And now when I'm wearing the school board hat, well, that's a problem. I don't think people like me should be doing that. So I mean, can we post things for sale or do we have to auction them?
No,
Cause there's a lot of stuff that I would probably pay more for if the school, if X fire department said buy it for this price and I got a good deal on it.
yes, we have to follow our board policy. And so, basically, we have talked about this because of everything that is coming up with, that's at the elementary school. And we have to follow our procedures and our policies, so as we go through here, we can have it as long as we make it public. We post things, we have to advertise in the paper and let the public know, and then the downside to, I'm gonna say the nice thing about the Gov Deals is that it's reports, so we have to report out to the public through, I have to provide it through my audit of everything we sell and the price of it. So you can see that if you have just a garage sale, how that could be cumbersome versus a online Gov Deals where it prints out a report after the sale of it. So
But we could definitely do a garage sale, we could do, whatever, as long as we follow board policy. And, right now, that's, but we do have to publicly let people know, and then we have to let them know what we sold, and how much we sold it for.
And Josh, to your point, we know that gov deals are deals, right? And so, when we play something on gov deals, it's because we're ready to let it go and trying to get it out. And that we don't always previously had another way to be able to do that, so sometimes things are not really expensive, so that it gets moved out.
You might sell 300 shares for $25 a share. You know, it's more just a, we need to get rid of these.
Kind of like when you
Somebody-
personally have a garage sale, you just want this stuff to go.
Yeah.
Price it to sell.
Yeah, but I've seen sometimes, again, agencies get pigeonholed by that. Because, well, they have to follow this policy.
Right, yeah, right, so we just struck that out of there, so we can still use it. But we don't, it's not the exclusive thing for us to use.
When I'm here, I want us to get the most money possible.
Absolutely.
When I leave,
When you're on the other end.
yeah,
Get the best deal.
Now, in gov deals, there's, you can set dollars, you know, like there's a threshold, and so
Yeah.
there's things you can put in your place.
Just a note on the other policies, really, it's updating a lot of language, so we, of course, work with some administration and the technology director, Jason, he was very helpful in a lot of this and made recommendations, but some of the nomenclature is just out of date. Especially around technical terms, and so a lot of that is updated to be more applicable and relevant today. So, as you look through those and wonder why we changed some of that, that was very deliberate to have it really be applicable and relevant.
there's no action on that, it's just first reading.
Just first reading.
Next, review board policies, 50508, parent and family engagement district-wide policy, 50508E1, teacher student parent compact, 50508R1, building level regulation.
So this did not go through board policy committee. This is a yearly notice. Basically, the board has to just review this for Title I, I believe it's for funding for our Title I program. And so this policy has to be recognized by the board, and then it just meets the requirement of that program.
So no action on that. Just review. Financial reports.
I'm going to be very brief tonight. I don't have really any concerns. As you can see, the green means good. And there's no concerns of the expenditures. The only thing is, for some reason, state and federal funds are lagging, and that's more of a reimbursement, and it's a timing thing. And all the things are submitted, they are just taking their time of paying me. But today, I say that, and today I received 2 payments from the state for third quarter back in March. After I've already submitted fourth quarter with energy. So that's, but lots of activity will be happening financially for the next through August 31st. As we close the fiscal year, more, a lot of things happen. I just finished open enrollment billing. That was over $500,000. We'll be paying that out. We'll be receiving those funds. After June payroll, I will be doing the next big billing is special ed tuitions to all the school districts that we educate their special ed students. And so that is another big piece of income and revenue source. So that will be after I do the payroll for June, and then I'll do the billing for that, and it has to be received by other districts by July 15th. So other than that, we'll be closing the books through July and August, and the end of year financial reports are due September 15th. So unless anybody has any questions, I'm.
All right. Moving on to the consent agenda. Anything needed to be pulled or discussed?
Can I make a comment on the consent agenda. I just wanted to mention, just as a process, so everyone is aware, under open enrollment, as you know, we're closed in most areas of open enrollment. But also, when a family, if they choose to open enroll to another district, I received this question today and just wanted to clarify. That if a family, fills out paperwork to open enroll somewhere else and their student is involved in athletics, that school district reaches out to us, reaches out to me, and usually it's to the athletic directors, and then sent superintendent to superintendent, asking if they could have their, the 90-day, athletic piece waived. And so that comes to me, and then we have that discussion and send that back to them. So we did recently receive one, and we usually think about it in the sense of, is this in the best interest of the student? And I think it always typically is, because we want them involved in wherever they go. And so we usually sign off on those and send them back. So we had one recently, and I just want to give you that little bit of information on open enrollment. So we have open enrollments that come, but also some that go, and then that's another piece of it, just so everybody's aware.
Got a motion?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. All right, calendar, July 8th is our next regular board meeting at 6, followed by August 12th. And we'll work on some extra stuff here in the future. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.